All right, everybody, welcome to the webinar. Go ahead and put in the chat where you're calling in from. We'd love to hear where everybody is calling in from today.
Dothan, Memphis, Tennessee, Pasadena. Ooh, that'd be nice. Charlotte, Sacramento, Richmond, Frisco, Austin, Jacksonville. Wow, all over.
Hey, Jeremy. Jeremy actually emailed me the other day and pointed something out on our website, and I haven't replied to him, so I apologize, Jeremy.
Pointed something out wrong.
Yeah,
just like I email you all the time and point out wrong things.
Matthew's chief job is to look at the website and point out all the things that he doesn't like on them. That's right.
Complain about it.
Well, all right, we've
done something super risky here at the risk of just like losing all credibility. We obviously have some special guests today. They're going to have all the credibility, and then me and you, Spencer, will lose.
I was wondering what you were trying to say.
Well, what I was basically saying is they're going to realize that all the ideas are coming not from the two of us. And so this is a big risky move that we're pulling here.
That's right. That's right. So welcome, Kayleen Cohen and McKenna Keller. Y'all welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, Spencer.
Both of these ladies are on our marketing team. They are content specialists, but they do a lot more than that. So we have brought them into the conversation. They're part of the team that really makes marketing go here at Evernest. And so they're going to be, like Matthew said, they're going to be the experts, and we're just going to be talking.
I wouldn't say they're on the marketing team. I would say they are the marketing team here.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
It's going to close a lot of loops for a lot of people that have been listening to you for a long time. They're going to say, how does he get all this stuff done? And now this is the secret sauce.
This is the secret sauce. That's right. But I've already told them they can't tell on me. They can't
make you look bad.
Yeah. They
can't do that yourself.
All right. So before we begin, I've got just a little bit about this webinar. We're going to do things a little bit different. In the past, we haven't had a presentation that we've gone by, but we're going to do that this time just to keep us flowing and in rhythm, because there's certain things that we want to hit. And then also there's a Q&A part of this webinar. You can ask any questions. McKenna has been on every webinar. She's been answering questions, putting links in and stuff. So she'll continue to do that. If you ever see us looking to the side or typing, we are engaging with people in the webinar. So I don't want you to think that we're not paying attention. We're most definitely paying attention. And then at the end, we'll answer questions, I'm sure, as we go, but then at the end, we'll also have some time if people have other questions they want to ask. So Matthew, you always like to kick this off. Why do we do these webinars?
I would like, in the spirit of transparency, I would like to say sometimes I get so bored with you, Spencer, that I am on Facebook or something, looking at something else. Spencer may be able to maintain his focus. Look, I think marketing is the lifeblood of any business, and bringing in leads is step one on being able to grow the business. And we've talked a lot about acquiring, inorganically growing a business, but I think a thriving business organically grows their business. And so we've talked a lot about sales, so we've gone down the funnel, but part of sales is delivering to those salespeople incredible leads. And to do that, you need to put some thought into it, and there needs to be some intentionality. And you and I, and you're going to go through some of the background and the story about how we got here, but you and I have been very intentional about it for a lot of years. And we feel like it's one of the flywheels in our business. And you and I talked about before we got on this thing, are we going to basically reveal all the secrets? And I think the answer is yes, because it's, at the end of the day, everybody thinks that marketing is a very creative thing, but it also requires a ton of discipline to be consistent. And you've done a great job of that. And, really excited about the webinar today. Really excited to hear what you have to say, and then to add color and hear what these ladies have to say.
All right, let's kick it off. I think that was a good intro. Can everybody see my slides right here? All right. So again, ask questions in the Q&A. I'm looking at my screen right here, so I'm not necessarily looking there, but I'll peer over from time to time and take a look at the take a look at the questions. What we wanted to do is we first wanted to give you a background. And so before we get into what is marketing, we're going to talk real quickly about how we got here and just our journey through marketing. We're going to talk about our marketing pyramid, and then we're really going to focus on content creation. I hope you will stay to the end, because that number 4 is, I think, has the opportunity to really open your eyes. And we're going to spill some ideas to you, give you some ideas that can really supercharge what you're doing. I believe that there's some tools and things out there that you may not have heard of and that could really help you. But then again, we'll talk about how best to use those. And then we'll have time for Q&A. All right. So our marketing background. And so I bought a HomeVestor franchise in 2003. In December of 2003, we signed our franchise agreement, went to the first seminar that I had ever been to, convention for franchisees, and it was in Las Vegas. And so this is how my introduction into marketing. I was a salesperson. I grew up in sales. I sold office equipment. I was with Solomon Smith Barney for a while. And this was really the intro to marketing, even though for the most part they were controlling the marketing, but I saw how that had the opportunity to turn on the phones. And so this was in 2003. In 2004, I sold this house right here, 1500 Cherry Avenue, to Matthew Whitaker. He was some 23-year-old and want to be investor who was desperate to buy rental houses or flip houses. I don't really know what he was trying to do, but I remember I bought this house and I didn't go in it. It had fleas in it, so I stayed on the outside. But Matthew, that was your first one.
I didn't know what I was trying to do either. I made the horrible mistake of trying to find some older, wiser mentors in this business. And so Spencer sold this house to me, and clearly I've been stuck in this business ever since.
Yeah. So shortly after that, I think I sold you another house, Matthew. Shortly after that, Matthew also bought a HomeVestor franchise. And so collectively we were competitors, but not really. We had what we called an ad council, and there went the lights.
There went the lights on your,
okay. I'm just worried about the lights going off here. Okay, good. So we had an ad council, and we're probably, I guess, spending about $20,000 a month, Matthew, on billboards. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
There was 4 franchisees. We were spending $20,000 a month on advertising, and it was producing for each office probably around in between 80 to 120 leads a month. And so that's how we started. And then, of course, we all know what happened in 2008. In 2008, the market crashed. And at that point in 2008, I started a nonprofit called Never Thirst here, based out of Birmingham, Alabama, but it was an international nonprofit. And so one of the things that I had to know was that I had to figure out how to tell stories. I was out raising money to provide access to clean water in some of the most remote parts of the world. I couldn't really take people to these places. Some of them were relatively dangerous. And so I just had to learn how to tell stories. So I learned more marketing through this. And at the same time I started Never Thirst, Matthew started what was known then as Golden Key. And this was...
You actually did take people to some of these dangerous places. You took me to a few of those dangerous places.
The places I took you weren't as dangerous as some of the other places I went.
You took me to the G-rated places. Huh?
I did. I took Matthew to India. And if anybody's ever been to India here in the audience, imagine Matthew in some very remote villages. It was amusing, to say the least. So Matthew started Golden Key. So Matthew, why don't you talk just a little bit about your
I think
starting this?
Yeah, this is our homepage of our website. It's very clear that I'm a marketing guru here, the marketing ninja. And I don't know how to explain it, but this was an idea I came up with, and this was the homepage of our website. Our original name was Golden Key, and there's a horrible story behind it, so I won't bore everybody with it. But Golden Key was the original business, and we started managing 30 properties that I owned. And then Spencer had about 25 homes that he gave to us. Maybe it was 30 homes. And then we had some other friends that gave me 5 or 10 homes. So I started out managing about 70 homes. when I first got started.
Talk about what I'd like to know, Matthew, is you started thinking about growing the business. Run us through how you were thinking about marketing at that point.
I wasn't as keen on marketing at that point. I had really started the business more to support the buying and selling of houses. And I had a lot of investors that wanted me to manage the homes once I sold them. And so it wasn't until 2010, 2011 that I would even take houses from people that I didn't know. So there wasn't a lot of early marketing, and it wasn't until 2013 that I decided to even try to grow the property management business. It really just grew as a byproduct of my buying and selling and building relationships. And one of the best ways to market is just to have a great reputation in the market and develop those relationships with investors. And because I'd been in the business for so long, I just had a bunch of great relationships.
Yeah. And I would imagine like people on the call, that's a lot of their story as well, right? So they started off small and just started developing with their relationships, referrals, meeting agents, those types of things, which is fantastic. All right. So as we move on, let me get back over here. So fast forward to 2014. So I ran Never Thirst until 2013. Then I reached out to Matthew at some point in 2014 and just told him, hey, I could probably help you with your marketing. And he said, like, I was thinking about some contract work on the side I could help him with. And he said, why don't you come on board and really help us grow? Because we have this goal to get to 25,000 properties. And
the goal, bad decision I made as it relates to Spencer.
Right. First, I sold you these houses, and then you're inviting me to come. I think you were probably trying to pay me back.
Yeah.
So I said yes. We talked for a while. I said yes. I came on board in December of 2014, and this was essentially our team. And when I look at this team, this was everybody. We were just in Birmingham, Alabama. When I look at this team, I'm absolutely the most unnecessary person in this picture. Like, I have zero to do with property management. I never, ever wanted to be a property manager. Like, I enjoyed the investing side of it, but never wanted to be a property manager. And something that I think about when in regards to this is, and I want to give kudos to Matthew. I don't do it very often, but he had the vision, like he understood to grow. We were going to have to get serious and very focused on marketing and growing organically. And all these people that are here in this picture were very necessary to the business. Saved me. And so that was us in 2014. And this was what Matthew had been doing up until I got here. And I show this picture because I think it's funny, and you all may think it's funny too, because Matthew doesn't really look like this anymore. However, I do
clearly change this picture through some sort of AI. My hair could never have been that bad.
Absolutely not. But what I think this shows, he was doing this before I got here. What I think this shows is Matthew had a commitment to marketing. And if you're an owner out there, you could be on staff, or if you're an owner of a property management company, I want you to understand something. You are a marketer, period, the end. If you want to grow, you're going to have to be a marketer. And Matthew, as bad as these videos were, he had a little backlight behind him. As bad as these videos were, I love it because he was absolutely dedicated to marketing. And I appreciated that. And probably the only reason that he asked me to come on board was because he had already made that decision that he was going to be a marketer. And so then we started shooting videos together. This was probably back in 2015. We actually, what was the social media account, Matthew? Periscope.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember? Can you put in the chat?
We were going to be Periscope influencers at one point, and we were, but too bad Periscope's out of business now.
Put in the chat, do you remember Periscope? Does anybody remember Periscope? It was very short-lived, and we got made fun of relentlessly from our staff. Like, they were laughing so hard at us. It was hilarious. So good. Some of y'all remember Periscope. Probably, I don't know, maybe they got bought out by somebody.
It bothers me too that I still have that shirt and I still wear it. And I'm thinking, I've got to continue to update my wardrobe.
What are you doing? That's right. All right. So now we want to shift gears and we want to talk about what is marketing, because this is something when I joined, we just started having to think, we started having these conversations. Okay, so what is marketing and what do we need to be doing when it comes to marketing at Evernest? And so I want to just walk through 3 main points with you and to help you guys and help you all understand this, the way we think about it. We think, first of all, it's a target market. And probably the first thing I did, probably within 3 or 4 months of being at Evernest, we got a whiteboard and we went into the conference room and I put sticky notes everywhere. And I gave people sticky notes in the conference room. And I said, okay, this is the person we're trying to reach. I want you to tell me who they are. I want you to, like, what do they hear? What are they around? What do they think and feel? What do they see? What do they say and do? What are their pain points? Like, what are their fears and pain points? And then really, what are they hoping to achieve? And I wanted everybody just to write on pieces of paper. And so everybody wrote on paper and they started coming up and sticking it on the whiteboard in the correct areas. And then we just started writing it all out and talking about it and pointing things out. And we came up with 2 avatars for Evernest. Number 1, we came up with Mike and Mary, the investor. And then we had Susie and Steve, the homeowner. And we just said, hey, we know that there are many investors who are looking to buy rental property in low to moderate income areas of Birmingham, and they're trying to grow their rental portfolio. These people think one way, they have certain pains, they have certain fears, they are trying to achieve something else, versus the homeowner, the accidental landlord, the one house, one owner, they're thinking something maybe completely different. And they have different fears than the investor does. So we wanted to be very clear about our audience. And so we put them in 2 separate avatars, and we then started to craft our messaging and marketing to them. So in our sales funnel, we started using Lead Simple. We wanted to reach and have messaging that would appeal to both of those, or one more than the other, just depending on the type of leads we were getting. So Matthew, anything you'd say here about this, about target market?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to think about as it relates to this would be Mike and Mary, the one house, Susie and Steve, the one house, one owner avatar. Maybe they don't want to own a rental property. What are their fears? And the way we think about that is their fear is like getting a bad tenant. Their fear is their house not renting. Their fear is covering their mortgage. Their fear is the tenant getting in the home or the resident getting in the home and then not paying. Those are the types of fears that a one house, one owner avatar would have, versus an investor who thinks more like partnership. If somebody owns 10 homes, they think of a property manager as more of a partner in that relationship. And what are the fears? A partner that takes advantage of you, a partner that is not transparent, a partner that lies to you. Those are the types of fears that an investor would have. Or looking dumb, a lot of times, would be a multi-house owner. So those are the types of things we came up with. And so one of the things we did too, which I think is a lot of fun, even though I got them backwards, was putting a name to these folks. Really helps you crystallize it in your mind, and it helps you also communicate really well within the organization, because as soon as somebody starts here, we start educating them on Mike and Mary and Susie and Steve. And we want that to crystallize in their mind, because we want them to know what that client looks like. And so being very clear on who your client is super important.
Yeah. And I think we instinctively knew this, but it was, again, much better to crystallize it and write it out. And
as you're scaling an organization too, you don't want somebody to, like a new person, have to figure that out on their own. Right. Or you and I probably intuitively knew it, but as we grew from the 10 or so people you saw there to 400 plus people today, you've got to continue to educate them on who we're talking to. I would also be interested in McKenna and Kayleen. Let's get them involved. I know everybody's probably wanting that. So McKenna, talk a little bit about having a deep understanding of who your customer or client is.
Yeah, I think from my perspective as like a content creator, obviously I'm creating for someone specifically, and that's for Mike and Mary, that's for Susie and Steve. And in this process, I think you also determine the clients that you don't want. Like, we don't want to waste marketing energy and marketing dollars on someone who's not a Mike and Mary or not a Susie and Steve. And it seems a little bit counterintuitive at the jump to exclude people, but we really need to focus our attention on the clients that we want. We don't want to be wasting energy on someone who's going to be a problem client. And we can take on those owners or those investors if our discretion allows it, but that's not who we're focusing on. We're really spending all of our time and energy on Susie and Steve, on Mike and Mary. That's who we're targeting, and we don't really stray from that. And we found a lot of success that way, I would say.
That's awesome. You've done a great job of that. Kayleen, anything to add?
Yeah, I would say the additional value of having the understanding of these labels is that it allows you to categorize and organize the content production scheme. So you can say, all right, are we creating enough content for Mike and Mary? Are they getting a blog, a newsletter, a video, and a podcast this week? And are the Susie and Steves also going to get content that's catered just to them? So it allows us to target our email marketing campaigns and allows us to create our content all the more intentionally, thinking about what kind of like bucket these people fit into. So I definitely encourage business owners to take a deep look at who are the ideal clients that you have right now, and can you use them as a little bit of a template to help answer some of these questions and get that understanding of your target market.
Yeah, I think that's great. As a matter of fact, to McKenna's point, we actually created some content around when or why Evernest would not be a good fit for you, right? So we wanted to, we didn't want to have our team wasting their time with the wrong types of clients. Hey, we were calling out people that we didn't want. And we were sending this in our sales letters saying, hey, this may not be may not be a great fit for you if these things apply. And it was just our way of rooting this out from the very beginning. So great input from both of you. All right. So next, you need a compelling message, right? You need a compelling message. You've got a target market, then you need a compelling message. And I think at this point, you can get creative with whatever you feel that you want your message to be within your company. This is something that I thought about. And so we talk about it, especially in my mind, as I'm thinking about creating content. The way I think about it is the messaging I want to give to people is, we want to help you succeed. And this is what we've taken, kind of our attitude from the very, very beginning is, we're not going to win every client, but you know what? If we can help anybody who's looking for help, and we may help them be a better landlord, if they want to do it themselves, we may help them figure something out, but we just want to help them succeed. Because if we help, just say, a Susie or a Steve with something, they may refer us to somebody else. And ultimately, this is what we want to do. And really, it's the same thing here. This is a webinar. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours of our time. And Matthew and I are passionate, really our whole team is passionate about helping you all succeed as well. So that's the compelling message. You need to have your own compelling message. And then lastly is the right media. And this is all about, for us, what we call our marketing pyramid. And we think that you should start at the base. That's the foundation. Everybody should start at the foundation. And so let's talk a little bit about these things. Matthew and I had a conversation with a CMO. She was an ex-CMO. She was then running her own agency at the time. And she said something that was really struck me, that I really enjoyed. She said, before you do anything else, you need to get your digital house in order, so that when people come to your website, like, you have your digital house in order, your messaging is on point, everything is ready. So I think of that as the website. Also, search engine optimization. Kayleen or McKenna, do y'all want to say anything about SEO? Because I know this is something that you all are passionate about.
Oh yeah. I always want to say something about SEO. Don't get me started on SEO at the dinner table. We'll never leave. And it's just because I've had the opportunity to interact with so many small business owners over the years, and medium and large business owners. And I'm always surprised when there's not a mindfulness for SEO because it seems like such a best practice matter. I'm suddenly hearing my grandma's voice saying to me, you have to say what SEO is. She calls me out on that anytime I post on Instagram. So let's just back it up a little bit and I'll rewind to say that search engine optimization is the art of advantageously manipulating your content so that you increase your organic rankings in the search results. So we want your company to be found for property management market, if that's property management Dallas or property management Tampa, Nashville, wherever you guys are calling in from. Your ranking in those search results is extremely important to you and is going to have a direct correlation to how many organic leads are coming into your business, right? So we definitely see that. We monitor our organic rankings and we watch as we go lower in the search results, we get fewer organic leads. As we come up higher in the search results, we're going to get more organic leads. And it just doesn't get any better than an organic lead because that's somebody that was already a really warm lead. They were obviously in need and thinking about your service when they typed in property management Dallas or whatever into their search browser. So having an element of mindfulness, do we rank for this? Could we improve our ranking? It's a fundamental question that business owners should be asking themselves as they get started with the creation of any type of marketing strategy.
Yeah, great. I agree. I'm sorry. I was in the middle of sharing this slide deck with Kayleen and McKenna in case our power goes out because it looks pretty bad outside. Yeah, no, that's 100%. We were just looking at data around our paid ads versus our organic ads. And I will tell you, the conversion on organic ads is always going to be better by a long shot.
It's a way for you to tell your story, right? And so when somebody calls in from more of an organic lead, they've spent time on our website or they've spent time reading some of the content Kayleen or McKenna has written or an awesome video that I did or some suboptimal video that you did, Spencer. But the point is you're like controlling the narrative and you're also making what is important to what you're good at important to them, right? And by the time they show up to our salespeople, it's more like taking orders than having to actually sell them. There may be a few specific questions, but it's a lot different than a very transactional Google paid ad.
I would add that some of this stuff sounds really scary, but there are a ton of tools that can help you. If you're a 1-person team, if you're a 5-person team, we obviously are a fairly built out team and we have tools and WordPress plugins that do a ton of the heavy lifting and they'll give you an SEO score. So they'll tell you if this is good or if this is bad. There are just a ton of tools that can help you. So don't be intimidated by SEO. It sounds scary, but it's not.
Yeah. So Astrid said, can you talk about a successful story using with organic ads? I think you're just talking about organic like content or organic over ads. And we get this all the time. We have people fill out the form and on our forms, we say, where did you hear about us? And we will see things like YouTube, we'll see podcasts. We actually track the URL from the landing page that they land on. And we've been noticing a trend with one of our blog posts recently that's gotten multiple leads from multiple markets just based on this one article that we've repurposed in these other areas, in these other cities. And so we're like, okay, that works. And when people read your content or hear you, so Matthew and I with Gray Hall started a podcast about it's coming up on 2 years in October. And Matthew, we can be really honest. It's not some stellar, it's not like it's an incredible podcast. It's for real estate investors. However, we've had 57,000 downloads in less than 2 years. And people reach out to us from the podcast, from listening to the podcast. So I think all of that helps with your search engine optimization. And then at the bottom of the foundation, also Google reviews are highly important. We started putting an emphasis on this about 5 or 6 years ago, and we started holding contests within the company of who can get the most 5-star reviews. And we signed up with a company called Podium. You all may have other 5-star review type softwares that you use. We found Podium to be very effective. at making it simple for people to click yes. And then we actually started training people. How do you ask for 5-star reviews? And probably in Birmingham is where we started. Our 5-star reviews went from probably like a 3.7 or a 6 to, with a couple of hundred reviews. Now we have over 2,000 reviews, I think. And we're like at 4.7 or something like that. But we hear all the time that people called us because of our reviews. And so if you're not paying attention to reviews, as property managers, we're always going to get 1-star reviews. Like, we cannot stop that, but we absolutely can make every effort to capitalize on somebody's good experience with us. Because if you don't, then they're absolutely not going to just automatically leave you a 5-star review.
Spencer, talk a little bit about, Josh would like to know how we train the team to ask for reviews.
Yeah, we actually found 2 or 3 people that were at the top every single month. They were getting tons of 5-star reviews, and we're like, okay, they're doing something right. They were having a lot of conversations. I think they were in the leasing department. So we have a department that a group of people, all they do is talk to prospective residents and helping them get approved and through the process. And then there was probably some resident communication people, we call them RCs. What we did was just started talking to them and say, what are you doing? And when we heard what they were doing, then we were like, okay, we need to record this. So we hopped on a Zoom call and I just asked them questions and was saying, walk me through when do you know the right time to ask a 5-star review? And then what do you say? And I thought one of the insightful things that I want to say it was Monse on our team told me, she said, when I have a conversation and I've helped somebody, the first thing the thing I ask them before we get done with our conversation is, do you believe I've earned a 5-star review? And to me, it's the word earned. In other words, it's not, hey, will you give me? It's, have I earned a 5-star review? And anybody who says yes, she goes, great. I'm going to send you a link. Would you mind leaving me a 5-star review and making sure you put my name in the comment? And they'll say, sure. And she sends it through Podium. She can see if they clicked it, if they did anything. And if they haven't clicked it or left the review yet, she'll follow up in another day or two and just remind them. So I think the best people are obviously being very respectful and asking things like, have I earned a 5-star review? And then they're following up. They're not just blasting out 5-star review requests.
And Josh, I think it's pretty important too to note that people don't give companies 5-star reviews. They're more likely to give people 5-star reviews. And so the company is the beneficiary of that. And so I think that whole point around making sure that their name is in the 5-star reviews makes it feel like they're giving the person the 5-star review. And we obviously reward, and I actually just saw on our Slack, somebody got their first 5-star review, and Monse was telling the whole team that, and like our whole company, that this new team member had just gotten her first 5-star review and kind of celebrating that. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. And Michelle, I see your question, which is, what are some of the tools that we use? And we have a whole 2 slides of tools that we use. And that's towards the end. We're definitely going to get there. And I'm going to share all the tools that we use. I sat down with Kayleen and McKenna yesterday and we went through all these. All right. Search SEO, your website, Google reviews. Last thing I would say about your website is a lot of property management websites are littered. Excuse me, that's huge thunder. A lot of property manager websites, in my opinion, are like online brochures. And truthfully, people don't really care about you. They care about what you can do for them. And so I would encourage you to go back and read all the copy of your website and make sure it's customer focused, depending on who you're trying to reach, whether it be the resident or the owner. So we know that 95% of the traffic are residents, people looking for rentals, but I would just encourage you with the website, you want to speak to somebody and they really are looking like, what's in it for me? So next up, once you've laid that foundation, the next up is paid ads. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on paid ads. I've mentioned this on a different webinar. We use Geek for paid ads, and we've used All Property Management in the past. I know there's probably some other providers. I have actually run Google Ads before, back when we were smaller. So I know how to do it and I learned how to do it. But as we grew, it was just something that I didn't want to spend a lot of my time doing. And it's a lot of detailed work. And there are people out there who are a lot better than I was at it. Now, we have also hired other firms, like great marketing firms who are fantastic at running ads, but they can't make it work for property management. Like we all know, everybody on this call knows how difficult it is to weed out residents and just find the owners. You have to be very specific with your keywords. I had one agency fight with me. This person wanted to run Evernest branded ads. And I said, man, I do not want my ads to show when people type in Evernest. He said, why not? Why? And I'm like, trust me, a vast majority of those are residents or potential residents. And I don't want to pay to have them clicking my ads. And so it's very difficult for traditional agencies to understand that. So if you go that route, just be very careful. And again, paid ads, the conversion of those are not nearly as good. Like we're watching these numbers, we see it. I talked to BDMs about it. People are very much transactional. And they haven't been on our site. They haven't read, they hadn't heard our voice. It's a landing page and it's a form and then that's it. And at that point, it's how fast we can get there and get those people on the phone to interact with them. Yeah, I agree, Grant. Google reps, they will 100% spend your money. I have been on the phone with Google reps and they're like, oh, you need to boost this and do this. And I'm like, no, we don't need to do that. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Anything else about paid ads? Anybody on Matthew or Kayleen or McKenna?
I would just reiterate the value of organic leads, knowing who we are and being more ready to convert versus forcing our salespeople to have longer, more intensive calls or battles trying to get these paid leads to convert.
Yep.
I'm obviously biased because I'm on the content side, but that's definitely how I see it.
I agree 100%. And that's why we have it. Once you have your digital house in order with your website and your SEO, then yes, paid ads. If you want to do paid ads, go for it. But then we think content is king. We think content boosts all your SEO and adds personality to who you are in the marketplace. And it's to us, and this is really, I showed that video of Matthew marketing back in 2000 and probably 13 or 14 with the shirt and the bad hair, but that was content marketing. That's what that was. And we didn't stop there. So that's one of the things, when I came on board, we started writing more blogs. We had outsourced blogs at that point. I'm going to encourage you not to do that. Don't outsource it. And just trust that somebody's going to write for your readers because it needs to be your voice coming through to them. So we started writing and then we started recording videos. And then eventually in 2020, we started doing podcasts. So that was the written, the video, and the audio. Matthew, what do you want to say right here about content?
Yeah, I think the important way to look at the pyramid right here is like what we decided is we need to get the bottom thing first, like this kind of like base SEO, website, Google reviews. That's step one. And there's no reason to move up the chain or up to the next layer of the pyramid until you get the first one right. And that's what Spencer was mentioning about getting digital house in order. Like there's no sense in paying money when there's some like very cheap things you can do to improve conversion on your website, to go out and get Google reviews, to do SEO website optimization. Point being is, as Evernest has grown, like we like executed the base labor, and frankly, we're only on the second layer of this thing right here. And there's like a broad surface area. So Spencer said, we do videos, we do blogs, we do newsletters. And what I would tell you is start somewhere small. So I started with recording those videos, and Spencer's going to show you later in this webinar ways you can convert that into more things. But the point is, just as after you get done with the first layer, as you start some of this other stuff, see, people like to just turn on paid ads because it feels like they're doing something. And what I would tell you is you are doing something. You are in motion, But some of this content lives for so long, it has such a long tail. And I used to think about recording a video. I went on this, it was the big joke around here, still is. In fact, we were talking about it yesterday, that I made this bet with Gray Hall here at the office that I could record a video a day for 365 days. And I bet him $500 that I could do that. And about day 150, I burned out and was just like, I cannot do another video. I actually was in a hotel room with Gray. We were going to Denver to go look at a business to buy. And I just like literally just gave out. I was just like, I can't record one more video.
It was like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I don't know. Remember what the point is, like those videos got a year later, if somebody watched it one time, those videos build trust. And I like to tell the story. I've gone to the same church for years, and I've met the pastor 2 times, but I watch him on video or see him on a regular basis. And what happens is familiarity breeds trust. And as somebody watches more and more of your videos, and they start to think of you as the expert, and they start to trust you, especially the more transparent you can be. And that just builds confidence and trust. And it makes, when they pick up the phone and call you, they're 70% of the way sold. Like all you have to do is answer their specific questions and then move them over into being a client. If I was basically saying, would I rather have paid ads or content? I would actually prefer to have content.
Correct. Which is why McKenna and Kayleen are on the team, because we realize like this is so very important to who we are and to growing our business, and that it's not just Spencer or Matthew creating content. We wanted people who were super smart and who understood the SEO connection to content to come on and help us grow. And so that's what McKenna and Kayleen have been doing. Anything that you all would add, McKenna or Kayleen, just thinking about content? I know we're going to get into some of the tactics of that, but would open it up to you.
Yeah, just speaking to the question that we got a little bit ago from Astrid about what makes a successful story for organic content, I think a really good prompt or thing to think about there is, what are your customers' unanswered questions? If you can brainstorm a bunch of questions, like Matthew was referring to the like 150 most commonly asked questions, and that was his video series, like that really is an endless supply of high quality content. But looking specifically for the questions that haven't yet been answered by your competitors or by other people on the internet provides like a huge organic opportunity, especially now that Google does featured snippets. So if there's a really specific question, like, are landlords responsible for blank in X market, and nobody else has answered that question yet, and you write a blog post with that exact title and answer that question, then Google's going to elevate that to be the featured snippet, and not only the first organic result, but also like your actual content just displayed on the Google landing page. So I really recommend incorporating that into your creative process for people that are trying to brainstorm these ideas. What are the most frequently asked questions? Type those into Google. And if you see an opportunity, like totally run with that.
Yeah, and I would add just the concept of consistency. Like Kayleen was saying, we have this entire backlog of blogs that we've gone through and we're updating, and they already have SEO juice, but we can make them better. And day in and day out, Kayleen and I are creating content. Nothing gets stale. We were talking yesterday about really working to avoid on some of our market specific sites, like a blog that was posted 6 months ago and then nothing since then. Consistency is really important. Matthew is getting out with his 150 days of video. You just got to keep pumping it out.
Yeah, that is 100%. If there's one thing we're committed to, it's definitely creating content. And just because we see the value. As a matter of fact, I interviewed one of our agents up in Columbus, Ohio, and she and I were talking before we hit record on the podcast. And she said, I'm still getting people calling me from the one we did 1.5 years ago. She goes, I still get people who reach out to me. I've had people come visit me in Columbus. I've met people out in California because she sells real estate. And I was like, that's fantastic. But so she's always, hey, when can we record something else? When can we do something else? So if your people, especially your salespeople, start to see results and start to see success, then some of them will also take it on themselves to start producing content because they see the value in it.
There's no better way to build trust than for the salesperson to already have a conversation with a prospect before the prospect ever picks up the phone. And so it's amazing how that connection can be made and that person can feel like they already know the salespeople.
Yes.
Or the salesperson. One question from Josh: any recommendation for marketing companies that are familiar with PM SEO?
Yeah, I saw that and I was going to answer. We've had experience with PMW, which people know who PMW is, property manager websites, and they absolutely know property manager SEO. They build websites. So if you're okay with them building your website and managing that whole thing, which you may be, and there's a lot of property managers that use PMW for their websites, then they would be a fantastic choice.
One more question: do we recycle topics or do we make new content constantly? Aren't there only so many topics to cover?
Yes, we do. So you can imagine we were GK Houses for the longest time. We have a lot of content that was old GK Houses content that we went through. Kayleen actually spearheaded the whole thing. She went through, and with my help, we decided what we're going to keep, what we're going to kill, and then that needs complete refreshing. So some of the keep stuff was Evernest stuff already. And yes, so we're going back, and obviously we're in a lot of different markets, so we'll never run out of content because we can do things for different markets. But I would say we probably have on YouTube 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know, videos all about where to invest in Birmingham. And they're all like, we say some of the same things in all of them, but people love those. So I would say you can keep saying some of the same things, even giving market updates. So this is like Matthew said, these first 2 is where we live.
Yeah, we don't know if the other 3 actually work because we've never done them. So
we've never done them.
We did create this a while ago, and I think it proves the point that we're only going one step at a time, and until we like conquer the next one, we're not going to go try out mailers. We're not going to go try out radio, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And just to give you all an idea, obviously we're big, but we were producing around 250 leads a week. So upwards of 1,000 or a little bit more than 1,000 leads a month. We started pulling back some of the paid stuff, and we're focused more on organic. We want to continue to grow the organic, but we know that this organic works because we've grown markets through it. All right. So we've just been talking about content. So how we help people succeed. So this is what we think when we're out talking to Mike and Mary and Susie and Steve. We're like, how can we help them succeed? We can help them succeed by producing content. Probably 6 years ago, Matthew and I wrote an ebook. It was maybe 40 or 50 pages. It was a long ebook, The Ultimate Guide to Renting Your Home. And we did that for somebody who wanted to do it themselves. And we literally laid out every single thing that they would need to know to successfully rent their house. And we've used that. We've given that away to people. We know if we can help them succeed, then they're going to remember us. And also, the ebook was so long and so detailed, we thought if they read it, they'd probably go, I'd just rather somebody else do this. It's just ridiculous, all the things we put in there. But content marketing is it. We think content builds trust. Like I mentioned, we have a blog over here on the left. In the middle, we've got a podcast. And then on the far, we have a YouTube channel. I would say, and I just want to stop real quick and just say something about video content. I think really you just need to figure out what you're most comfortable doing. I'm more comfortable sketching out an idea and then recording something on video. Because I can work it out as I talk, and then I can take that video and I can edit it and just get it the way I want to. And then from there, I can create audio from that, like a podcast recording, or I can create a blog post from that. And so I think you need to figure out, what do you like to do the most? I know Jeremy Tallman, who's on here, he has a podcast. So that's one way that he creates content. Others of you write blog posts. I would just say, whatever you don't do boilerplate blog post, because people can tell if you've not put a lot of effort into it.
In case you haven't noticed, Spencer likes to talk until he thinks of something to say. So that's why he's really good at
That's right.
being on these
100%.
types of
It
things.
gets me in trouble, but when I'm recording a video, it gets me in trouble live, but in recording a video, it's pretty decent. All right. So now we're going to get into some of the tools that we use and how you can come up with limitless ideas for creating content. Because I believe if you're a shop in your market, you ought to be able to dominate, and you can dominate in video and YouTube. You could dominate on SEO. And really, we use this content also in all of our sales efforts. Our salespeople are sharing this content all of the time. And so what better way to help communicate to prospective owners, even when they're in the pipeline, just to keep them interested? Grant, we have a WordPress site. And then we also have some microsites these are like market sites that are done with PMW right now. When did you get serious about SEO? Oh goodness. We've always been serious about SEO, but we've not always done it fantastic. We just haven't been the best at it. So I think we're learning things along the way. Kayleen joined our team, and she came from 10 years of running an agency and where she talked to businesses about SEO. So she came on board and immediately pointed out a lot of things we were doing wrong. And so I thought that was very helpful. So yeah, we always have thought SEO is a big deal. Our struggle, I'll just tell you all, our struggle is the fact that we're in so many different markets. It's hard to plop down in Dallas and then all of a sudden rank in SEO when we've been there for a couple of months versus somebody who's been there for 10 years. And over that 10 years, they should have created tons of content, tons of trust, build out their SEO. So if you haven't gotten serious about it, I would encourage you to do that before we come to your market and get very serious about it. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. But anyway, all right. So I'm going to show you some things. So here are some, and I will share this with anybody. I'll share this whole slide presentation with you if you want it. But here are some things to jumpstart that you can just do from everyday ideas. And these are things like questions owners ask. We've already mentioned this. Best places to invest. You could do a series on each area, each zip code, and go into detail. What kind of houses do investors find there? Are they craftsman houses? What year were they built? What are the bedroom bathroom mix? What type of resident is there? What are your stories about that? There's all kinds of ideas you could do with best places to invest, and people love those. Interview local clients. If you have clients that are investors, we've done that before. Just had them on the podcast, talk to them. You could do a video, you could do an audio recording. We've also done written interviews where we've recorded it and then just done a blog about it. Describe your rent ready process, local market monthly updates. If your market is changing a lot, you can do monthly updates if you wanted to do that. Property evaluations. Is this a good investment? I literally was Monday, I want to say, or maybe Tuesday. I think Tuesday I was out in a part of Birmingham looking at a property with the head of our renovations, and we walked through that entire house. I recorded video. I had some things to say, and I'm in the middle of editing a video that'll be uploaded on Monday. And the whole question I'm asking is this a good investment? And what I want to do is help investors think through what are the things they need to be thinking through as they're trying to decide, should I buy this property or not? Obviously, you have a ton of tips and advice. I'll tell you somebody who does this real well. If y'all have ever heard of my friend Mark Ainley up in Chicago, he has a podcast that has exploded. It's great. It's straight up Chicago investor. They've got well over 100,000 downloads. I don't remember how many thousands of downloads they have, but Mark does a tip, like he does a property management tip almost, I think, in every segment that they do. And he's relentless with this podcast, and man, he has done very well, and it's helped them get a lot of business. Mistakes
He even sells ads on his podcast, so they make money. Nobody's been willing to pony up for our podcast.
We spend money. They make money on their podcast.
We keep begging somebody to advertise, but nobody is willing to step out. And
I will say this, we had a few people reach out, and then when I told them what Matthew was thinking as far as price per impressions, they walked away. So Matthew's very proud about it. We definitely want people to pay for it.
It's solid gold.
Solid gold. That's right. So you got tons of mistakes to avoid. I've made enough mistakes investing to probably take down 1,000 videos, how-to articles. And then something we've done is done ultimate guides. McKenna's really spearheaded the whole project. We have ultimate guides to every city that we're in. So the ultimate guide to what are the proper titles, McKenna? It's ultimate guide to Dallas investing, or what is it?
Yes, it's like an ultimate guide to the market. So it includes stuff on like population, trends, neighborhoods that are rising in popularity, declining in popularity, just a ton of stats. And I would add to this list the concept of like timely content, or Kayleen and I this year introduced like a content calendar. So for example, like when tax season is coming up, Spencer can record a video on taxes for landlords, and then I can write a blog. Kayleen can turn it into an email and then deliver it directly to the leads. And that's a really easy way to come up with more ideas. It's just what's going on? What would someone be Googling right now? And just taking that and running with it.
McKenna, I know you just grasped for something, but please don't let Spencer do a video on tax stuff for landlords.
Please, no, you're right about that.
No idea here is sacred, but there's no way. There's no way that would be helpful.
People, we're so committed to content, they will even let me do a taxes segment.
We'll get a body double for Spencer, hire a paid actor.
Or AI, yes, something like that would be great.
Spence, before you move to the next one,
yep.
Jeremy, our buddy Jeremy, sorry, Jeremy. What is a good conversion rate for Google review solicitation? Do we know that from Podium?
Yeah, we do. We have it in Podium. I can't pull it up right now, but I would say, and I can message you after this, Jeremy, but I would say if we send 1,000 review requests in a month, then we probably ended up with 150, 200 5-star reviews. So probably 20%. I think that's probably right. I'll go back and I'll pull up Podium and see how many we've sent. We sent year to date, or at least for the first 6 months, and I can see how many converted. That's one thing that Podium does really well. All right. So I just pulled this stuff up. So this is just giving you some ideas. This is straight out of the back end of our YouTube account. Here are some of the things that we've done. You can see, like, I was not very popular for that first one, how to tell if your tenant has a pet against the lease. 32 likes and probably 100 thumbs down. Thankfully, YouTube doesn't show the thumbs down anymore. They stopped doing that, but I can see it. And
I'm sure I had to go to therapy over that. But what actually happened was a lot of residents, were searching pet against the lease, and a lot of residents were actually watching that video.
Yeah, they were like, what is my landlord going to do if they catch me with a pet against the lease?
And here comes Spencer hopping up and telling the landlord what to do.
5 most difficult things about buying and managing rental property, most common fears. I think if you can really start talking to fears and worries that people have, they're more likely to take action than achieving some goal that they have. That's just, we want to avoid the fear and the pain. And so if you can start answering some of the fears, which is a resident not paying rent, a resident tearing up a house, those types of things. You can see the where to invest in Chattanooga. I'll tell you, this video is not good at all. It's really bad, and Matthew recorded it with the team leader at the time, but look at it. It's like almost 3,000 views and 40 likes. And anyway, just it's very surprising. And then you can see this one down at the very bottom, where to buy rental houses in Birmingham. Matthew and I this was in 2015. We did a 5-part series where we stood in front of a map and talked about where to rent houses in Birmingham. It's just simple stuff like this. It doesn't have to be crazy. However, I will tell you, YouTube will reward you if you can keep people watching your video. So if you can make it interesting enough where people watch it, they're looking for 85 to 90% view rate. So people watching at least 85 to 90% of the video, because Google wants to keep people on YouTube as long as they can. They'll start showing your video to other people. They'll start suggesting it to other people. So if you're making really bad videos, like we've made tons of really bad videos, and people are watching them 20 or 30% and then hopping off, and you can see all this in the analytics in the back end, they're not going to be showing that video to other people. So I would just encourage you to try to make as engaging a video as you possibly can. All right. Are y'all ready for some Chat GPT stuff? So I'm going to walk you through a couple of prompts. I believe that Chat GPT, it's as good as the prompts are, right? So if you're not prompting it the right way, then you're just going to kind of get mediocre stuff. Something else I will say, I've got a couple of things to say here. I highly encourage you, do not copy and paste whatever Chat GPT puts out. Please do not do that. It is, to me, an idea generator. And even if it is creating some content for you, you desperately need to make that your voice. You need to make it your own. You cannot copy and paste. Kayleen has told me before, we don't know how Google's going to penalize people for copying and pasting content from ChatGPT. Like Google will figure out a way to punish OpenAI. They'll do it. And so you don't want to do that. You want to make it your own, but I promise you, it can absolutely help. But I'm also going to show you how you can use ChatGPT to take your own content and turn it into something pretty awesome as well. I think I've got a couple right here. So these are just a couple of ones that I thought about. And if you want me to send these to you, I'll be happy to send them to you. I'm a property manager. You're my content creator. We need to rank well on Google for the keyword Birmingham property management. What are 10 creative article ideas that potential landlords and investors would love to read about, but also make sure that we rank on Google? I did this the other day. It said, hey, I completely understand what you're asking. And it gave me 10 ideas. And then what I did is I chose one of those ideas and I put it in ChatGPT. I said, okay, take this title and write me an 800-word blog post. And it spit out an 800-word blog post with main headings. I looked at the main headings. I was like, I like those main headings. I could take that and I could just take those main headings and I could literally use that and write my own thing. But it was a fantastic way to start an idea, and then I can fill it out with my voice. I would never copy and paste and say, hey, look, we've got a new article. That's not gonna go well. We use GPT to give us a base of post and rewrite it. Yeah, 100% I believe that's the way to do it. Another one is I want to create 5 new pieces of content to attract landlords in Chattanooga. I need the keyword Chattanooga property management to be in the title. Give me 5 content ideas I can create. And so it came with titles and then a little paragraph about what the article should be about. And I was like, yeah, this is perfect. This is perfect. So any questions there before I go on? McKenna, it's a great point. Skeleton, edit, make it your own. All right, so let me show you. I've got it pulled up. Hopefully it's still there. So this is a long prompt, and it's something I can give you all. I can send out in an email, however you all want it. You can message me, email me, and I'll be happy to send it to you. This is the prompt, and I'm going to show you what it does. So this is it. I'm going to train you to become an infinite content idea machine. Here's how it works. There are 4 types of ideas we can generate. The 4 primary types of ideas are actionable, analytical, aspirational, and anthropological. And here are the subtopics within each of those. And so it goes through and it lists, okay, under actionable, here are all the different ways you can write. Under analytical, here are all the different things you can do. Under aspirational, here's what you can create. And under anthropological, here's what you need to do. And then what I'm going to do, I'm telling ChatGPT, I'm going to tell you for who's the audience, so that what are they trying to achieve? And then I'm going to say, and you're going to generate 1 idea. So that's it. And then I said, do you understand? It spit out, I said, yes, it said, yes, I understand. And so it said, go ahead and give me the topic for who is it for, and so that what are they trying to achieve? And so this is what I said: property management challenges for do-it-yourself landlords so that they can remove the burden of managing tenants and all that comes with it. That's what I did. And this is what it gave me. It gave me actionable, analytical, aspirational, and anthropological. And all of these are just content ideas based on what I fed it. Fears, failures, struggles, paradox. I read through these and I was like, oh yeah, I could create content out of this. I can take these titles and I can absolutely speak to these things. Now, why are the titles so important? The titles are so important because that's your headline is the most important part about what you write, because the whole purpose of your headline is to get them to read the next line, and the next line is to read the next line. And then I tried this one, rental real estate success, real estate investors, so that they learn how to become great investors who grow passive income. And then it gave me all of these ideas. So you ought to be able to take this prompt and come up with plenty of ideas that would last you for months and months and months. And I think, like McKenna talked about, she has us using this software called CoSchedule. So she plans out all the content. She and Kayleen plan out all the content ahead of time so that we know what's coming down the pipeline. But you could literally take this and plan out your content for 6 months at least. All right, so I'm going to show you something else. There is this Chrome extension called YouTube Summary with ChatGPT. You can look at it in your Chrome extension. And so this is what you can do with that. So here's a video I just recorded. I posted it 8 days ago. And so what happens is when I have this Chrome extension obviously in my web browser, it's showing this right here. And if I choose this, it gives me a word for word transcript of what I've said on the video. Every word, doesn't matter if it's a 30-minute video or whatever. But so I have the transcript if I want to take that transcript and then turn it into an article, but it would be better if I was able to summarize it and think of it differently. And so this little button right here gives you a ChatGPT summary. And so when I click this button, what it does is it comes up here and dumps the entire transcript into ChatGPT and spits out a summary right here. This is a summary of the video. And then I said, write an 800-word blog post for real estate investors using this video idea. And so this is what it gave me. Should you buy this property? And it took my video and turned it into an article. And I would take this and I would change it up and put headlines in it. And if I was wanting to rank for a keyword, I would make sure the keyword was in there. But this is a very simple way that you can use ChatGPT with any videos that you're currently recording. This is another one that I recorded, which is, how much should I rent my house for? I think this is a very common question that owners are asking. They're typing in, searching, how much should I rent my house for? I recorded this video, this YouTube. I dumped it in here, the transcript. It came out with the summary. And then I said, write a blog article for homeowners who are considering renting their home instead of selling it from this video content. Make the keyword, how much can I rent my home for? And then it took this and gave me this based on my own video. I would take this and expand on it, add some more commentary to it, probably tell a few stories in there and make it my own and have more of my voice in it and probably expound on some things. I was trying to make the video pretty short. So the video is 8 or 9 minutes. The only thing here is if you're using ChatGPT, it has a limit to how much text. So probably a 20-minute video is all it's going to put in there. But if it's a 40-minute video, it's going to take equal chunks of it and give you a summary anyway. So it's going to take chunks and skip some, take chunks so that it gets the whole video, but just not every single word. It's still going to give you a summary. If you have a longer video, we've got several that are 30 and 40 minutes long. So those two ideas are great ways that you can repurpose your content. I think any videos you do, you should absolutely be writing blogs about it. Anything else right here that you'd want to say, McKenna or Kayleen? I warned everybody not to copy and paste.
I noticed you didn't ask me if I had anything to add. I don't, but appreciate you.
Yeah, I figured you didn't. All right. So last thing we really want to cover here are just going to be the tools. Michelle had asked this question, what are the tools? These are tools that we currently use or have used in the past. So here are our tools. Podium is our Google review software. We talked about that. CoSchedule is what McKenna and Kayleen have used to organize everything. It's a pretty robust system. You don't have to use that. You can do a calendar in Google Sheets and do this as well, but we need it because we're all in there sharing content and completing tasks. And it's just a great way to keep us all on the same page. Obviously, if you have a WordPress website, Yoast SEO is a plugin that you should get and use it to make sure that your articles, your content is SEO friendly. If you've never used Descript, highly recommended if you're using videos. I will tell you, this is one of my favorite things because I will literally take this webinar, I'll dump the video in there. If it's an hour and a half, however long it is, with one button, I will remove every single filler word. And what it does is when it removes the text, when it removes that filler word, it also edits the video at the same time. So I don't have to go and edit the video. All I have to do is edit the text. And if there's something that Matthew said that I didn't like, I'm embarrassed he even said that on the webinar, which there's a lot of that. Then I literally highlight it and then delete it. And it deletes it from the video as well.
We can get this thing down to 30 minutes if you take all those out.
There's no doubt. There's one webinar I pulled up. There was 250 something filler words that were, I just said one.
Only 4 of them by me though.
Right. Yeah. That were deleted. So Descript is very valuable. You can put captions. You can do B-roll footage. So they have stock videos in there. You can do B-roll over your video. Very easy to use. There's plenty of tutorials. CapCut is it's an app. And so you can use it on your phone and you can use it on desktop. I have both versions. Very easy. You can edit shorts if you're doing YouTube shorts or if you're doing TikTok or whatever, you can edit it using CapCut. I highly recommend it. I have it on my desktop. That's how I'm editing videos. I was doing that today. Opus Clips. I do want to show you what this does. So you can see all I did was paste our YouTube. I did a podcast with Gray Hall, who's there. I pasted the YouTube link and then hit go, and it literally spit out all of these short videos. And I can decide if these are any good or not, and I can go in and edit them. So I can download it in an HD file, or I can go in and edit it. If I hit edit, then I can change the words. I could change the positioning of this. So here's the brand stuff. So I could move that to the bottom, that to the middle. And it's just a way to so the video literally has the two of us side by side, and it automatically took it and put it top and bottom for short. And it kept it under a minute. So you could do that. You could put this on YouTube Shorts or wherever you wanted to. So if you have longer form content and you want to create some smaller snippets, you could do this for LinkedIn, for whatever you wanted to do. This is something that we use. And then obviously ChatGPT. Canva, if you're trying to do some graphic design, you don't want to hire a graphic design person. It's an easier way. It does have obviously some limitations. There's a free version, a paid version, but it can definitely get you probably where you want to go. Figma, Kayleen, you want to talk about Figma? She uses this to mock up. We'll do pages on it, funnels, all kinds of things.
Yeah, I use it as like a digital whiteboard space because I'm such a whiteboard nerd. I love to just throw everything up and be able to move it around. And so Figma is just like an interactive drawing board where you can either do design stuff or do for me, thought process diagramming. So when I first came into this job, I was like, oh my gosh, we've got all these different verticals. We've got Mike and Mary, Susie and Steve. We've got all these different content channels. How does this all flow together? I wanted to be able to picture it like a Candyland map. And so I built that in Figma so that I could see how everything flowed through its different funnels as it related to our verticals and our channels and mediums. Yeah, brain dump, play with it kind of space.
Why don't you go ahead and knock out the next few as well, Kayleen?
Oh, GA4, one of my favorite platforms here. Google Analytics recently made a transition from Universal Analytics, which we had been operating on for 10 plus years, to what they're calling the GA4 platform. No, Universal Analytics is not called GA3, but it's called GA4. Grant, I totally thought GA4 was the worst because I had been familiar with Universal Analytics for 10 plus years, but over the last month, I was fortunate enough to complete a few online courses in GA4 training. And I'm actually obsessed now. Like now that I get it, now that I get the interface, I was able to build a bunch of reports that we had been desiring for a long time. So we can now look at form submissions by landing page category. We can look at different types of page engagement events from user types. We can make all kinds of custom reports and filters. So Google Analytics is free. You definitely want to make sure that you have that installed on the back end of your website. And you can look at the basic insights that it provides you, or seek a little bit of additional training and be able to really leverage that as a tool for digging into your insights. Later app is a social media scheduling tool. So we actually use CoSchedule for social media scheduling, but there's also Later app and Hootsuite. I highly recommend, if you're going to be running social media, that you schedule, you do a bulk upload, sit down once a week and upload all your posts for the week, or whatever kind of cadence is going to be helpful for you, because who wants to be thinking about social media on a daily basis? Definitely not me. Ahrefs is another one that we use really frequently here at Evernest. So we use this to pull our SEO rankings. We were talking about this at the very beginning. Are we the second organic result, or are we the 22nd organic result? So we actually manually pull all of our rankings by market every single Monday to take a look at what the shifts have been over the last week. Gravity Forms is a WordPress extension. So we use Gravity Forms to capture all of our form submissions through our website. It allows us to build out custom fields, and it also integrates in, we're able to zap it in different directions. It sends people into our lead simple. It sends people into our active campaign. That Gravity Forms is definitely a pivotal piece of our tech stack here. And lastly, MailChimp is definitely my recommendation for an email marketing platform. And we actually didn't really even talk about the role that email marketing plays in that pyramid. But when we're looking at the content layer, certainly that content is going to be best delivered to your audience via email marketing. That's where we see the best engagement with that content. And we highly recommend using a platform like MailChimp, or another CRM or more robust solution like ActiveCampaign for managing email marketing lists, campaigns, and templates.
Yeah, I would also add, we really benefit from Yoast SEO, which is another WordPress plugin. So when I'm uploading our blogs, it will tell me like how we're doing with our keywords, meta description. Again, that's something that they will rank for you. So you'll see this bar turn from red to green once your SEO is in a good place. So it's super helpful if you're new to SEO, if you don't really know what you're doing. It will guide you and help your content rank.
Why don't you also talk a little bit about CoSchedule? This has been your baby from the very beginning, because when McKenna joined the team, we were just like, let's go create. And that's kind of the way I think. Let's go do it. And she's, let's have a system and a process in place for this, so we make sure that everything's getting done. That's not really my strong suit. That's definitely McKenna's.
Yeah, when I came to Evernest, it was a little bit of a mess. I think like we had this huge backlog of blogs, and we were constantly creating videos, blogs, emails, everything. And we just didn't have a good way to organize it. We were trying out Notion, we were trying out the Google Suite, and we just didn't have a universal version of truth. Spencer, would we be able to pull up our CoSchedule calendar? Is that possible? I think it's just a good representation of all of these tools coming together. So it has social media scheduling. It has all of our Google Docs for our blogs. You can send through MailChimp with CoSchedule. Yeah, so this is our content calendar. This is everything that we're producing on a weekly basis. We're going to be publishing 3 blogs a week in August, and we would not be able to do that without an organized system. If you want to click into one of those projects, Spencer.
Which one do you want me to? Do you want me to do this one?
Yeah, let's do that one.
So if I click in here.
So you can see the WordPress plugin. I can essentially publish posts to WordPress through CoSchedule. Don't need to go anywhere else. If you scroll down, There should be more attachments. So you can see the social campaign that's coming out of this blog post. We can upload the blog graphics here. There are subtasks on the upper right-hand side where I can assign things. If I need Kayleen to send out an email for this blog, I can tag her directly there. It's just a really organized place for all of our projects to come together, because obviously we're doing a lot, we're putting out a lot of content, and it really just needs to be organized.
Yes, agree.
It is.
They have done a good job of pushing me to start using this more and more, so that I look at my task and I see that Kayleen needs me to write an intro for a newsletter. And so I go there, and it's the Google Doc is already attached to it. And so it's fantastic just to be able to pop into that Google Doc. All right. Thank you all very much, Kayleen, McKenna, Matthew. What about questions? Any questions that we haven't answered, Matthew?
There's none in the Q&A and there's none in the chat right now. So maybe we give it a few seconds and see if
I see one.
There's a question. I just sent it. I just bopped it back to you guys. How do you suggest coming up with a marketing budget? This is a great question.
Yeah, Matthew, how do you suggest coming up with a marketing budget? Would you base it on % of revenue or dollar per door, or what? Do you track the success rate of different marketing strategies?
Great question. Spencer doesn't know what a budget is. Maybe somebody could explain that to him. Look, what I would say is, let me take these in reverse order. Yes, we do track the success rate. Like, it's very important for us to attribute leads to certain pieces of marketing. But as you can see from this presentation Spencer gave, which was great, obviously it digs pretty deep. There's some broad surface area. So you start to try to figure out what is paid, and what is paid is pretty easy because you're paying for it. But where is our organic marketing coming from? The way we think about it right now is the way we think about it, it's really all about how many leads can we digest from a salesperson standpoint. So we back into the marketing budget based on our ability to handle all the leads. Kudos to this team right here. They actually produced more leads than we could possibly handle. And so we had to back off we didn't want to back off on our content creation, organic stuff, but we backed off on some of our paid stuff because if you'll recall, that's like a lower return lead. And so we just said, hey, we're gonna put a budget on it. The whole goal is the way we think now, and of course, all this is subject to your ability to pay for it, but we think now, as long as we're handling the leads and closing the leads, we want as many leads as possible. And we would just I wouldn't say unlimited budget, but within the confines of how we think about it in a very disciplined manner, we want as many leads as possible. And as long as we're converting them we think about it as a cost of customer acquisition, or a cost of client acquisition, or a cost to acquire a door under management. And we just think even today, based on the engine that these folks here have built, the cost per door organically is just really cheap. And so relative to what we get on the back end when we manage. So we don't have a budget. I think we just manage it on a week-to-week basis and stay on top of how well we're handling the leads.
Yeah. And I think something else here is you have to be really in tune with your salespeople and hear what they're saying and watch their activity and close percentage, because I think that's a big indicator. Like, you can probably, if you're looking into Lead Simple and you're seeing that the conversions are just not happening the way, if you're looking at your numbers and the conversions aren't happening, you need to find out why. And so digging in there and seeing what is the optimal number of leads that we should be providing our BDMs. Because, like, to Matthew's point, if we're giving them too many, it's just a complete waste of money and waste of their time, especially if they're out chasing a bunch of paid leads that are not going to convert as well. So I think just making sure you're in tune. And if you're the BDM, then you'll absolutely understand what's working versus what's not working.
It's so painful, though, to back down the number of leads. But what I tell everybody internally is we better figure out the sales piece, because the last thing we want to do is back off getting leads.
Yeah, you want as many as you can get.
Spence, what was the plugin you referenced that transcribed your videos?
It is called
And I don't know if somebody saw this in the chat channel while he's coming up with that, but we are going to send you this deck, and obviously this video is being recorded, and so you'll get a copy of that as well.
Yeah, the Chrome extension is called YouTube Summary with ChatGPT. So just go into your Google Chrome extensions and type it in the search bar. YouTube Summary with ChatGPT, you'll find it. It's free.
This kind of gets into a little bit of sales. I don't, this is like an anonymous person, meaning they don't have a Google account or whatever, or a Zoom account. What would be the best way to convert that lead into success? That kind of gets into sales. And we did do a whole webinar on sales. Kayleen, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's hinting towards like lead nurturing. And so we've talked a lot about top of the funnel and capturing the lead, but that's such a great question. Is okay, so we got the lead. Now what? And we have a few different mechanisms in place for nurturing our leads. So we use Lead Simple, which puts people into a funnel where they are receiving on a very intentional cadence emails, phone calls, and text messages from us, very much thinking about what their customer journey is and how we can nurture them through the journey to a conversion. So if we think that somebody's a lukewarm lead when they first enter our funnel, we want to be thinking about how we can warm them up throughout the funnel process. That can be with email drip campaigns, that can be with lead nurturing softwares, email funnel softwares. There's a lot of different ways to think about how to continue to warm up your leads after they come in. And it's definitely most likely to convert after multiple touches.
That's great, Kayleen. Thank you. Yeah, we didn't talk about nurturing. If there's no more questions, I would want to feel free to pop them in there. We still have clearly a little bit of time left, but I do want to do like a public service announcement. A lot of people, if you're new to me and Spencer, Kayleen and McKenna, Spencer and I do a podcast that's called 300 to 3000, talks about how to grow your property management company. And so people are like, why do you do this? Like you're almost educating your competitors. And yes, we are doing that. Now, one of the things is we aren't saints behind the scene, but one of the reasons we do this is we actually think that the more we can elevate professional property management, it'll help all of us. The whole rising tide raises all ships. The second thing is we just have a passion for it. We love to help people. And it's just like when we think about Evernest, when we think about our core focus is to develop people personally and professionally. It's just an easy way to continue to give back to the people that I learned from when I first got in the business, from places like NARPM and some of the IMN conferences. And many of you are on the call too as well that have learned and or I've learned from. And then the last thing is a completely selfish thing. I talked about gaining trust, and the more you see somebody, the more trust you get. And so we buy property management businesses. And so one of the ways we do that is to nurture relationships, help people build their business. And whenever they decide to exit, whether they're retiring or they're doing something, they want to go do something else, heaven forbid somebody would want to get out of the property management business, then we would want to buy their business. And everybody, like when people first meet us, they're like, can I trust these folks? And so I want to be ultimately transparent about how we think about the webinars and the podcasts and the property manager newsletter. All right.
Great. We got another question. Spencer mentioned conversion rates earlier. What do you believe is industry standards, and where does Evernest fall across the board?
When I was doing it, I'm just kidding.
It really, I see this as two parts. So there's what we would call a marketing qualified lead. So something that comes in that we know, we feel very certain this is an owner with a property and they're thinking about selling it, they're thinking about renting it. And so that's a marketing qualified lead. The other way to look at it, so what is the conversion rate with those, no matter if the salesperson gets in touch with them or not, versus what would be called a sales qualified lead, which is what Matthew used to count when he was counting his conversion, was everybody he spoke with. And I do believe if a strong industry standard conversion rate for sales qualified leads, in other words, people you have the opportunity to sell, is probably upwards around in the 30% range and maybe a little bit above that. And then for marketing qualified lead, I would say just, hey, the salesperson doesn't get in touch with them or does get in touch with them. I think that number drops down into the probably mid to low 20s, if I had to guess. And
then,
where do we fall in that?
You go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say we fall with organic this year around the 20%, and then lower than with the paid stuff, I think. And so what we've done is we put a very big emphasis on our BDMs being quick to get back with people, because we know if we can turn them from a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead, then that percentage is going to jump up. We're going to have a better opportunity. And so for us, it's so much of it is about speed to lead and getting to that as fast as we possibly can.
And in the last 18 months, we basically tripled the business. And so we're trying to like also scale the sales organization along with it. The marketing department has done a great job of scaling the leads. And so now we're having to teach a lot of new people how to land property management contracts.
Yeah. If you're an owner like Matthew was back in the day, or I had a lot of experience. One of the first things I did when I started with Evernest is I started taking sales calls. If you're one of us that has a lot of experience, you ought to be converting in the 30s, I believe, all day long, because you have tons of knowledge, as long as you're friendly. All right. If there's no other questions, that may be it. We appreciate y'all sticking around for this webinar, and we will make sure that this gets out to everybody. And yeah. One more thing, Matthew, we have another webinar.
We do. So we got to promote our next webinar with this webinar. So we are doing a maintenance focused webinar, how to build a maintenance business. And so we're going to have some of our friends in the business. I've already booked Deb Newell, who's going to be on with us. And we're reaching out to a couple of other folks that are experts in the maintenance world. And Evernest has done an amazing job of building a maintenance business. We're even going to have Trey Griffin on, who runs all of our maintenance business. It's like a $20 million a year maintenance business. So he knows what he's talking about. And we just think it's a great way to control your residents' experience. We think it's a great way for you to make some extra money. We know that a lot of people have had a lot of challenges with it. So hopefully we can add some clarity. But all of our webinars are the first Thursday of every month. And this one falls September 7th, maybe?
Yeah, September 7th, I believe. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Don't miss that, and look forward to seeing y'all then.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.